Jana Jaya Vrajanaranga Jaya Yashodanandanam Jaya Vrajajanarana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kana Jabiyare Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kanja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhavam Jaya Kanja Bihare Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhavam Jaya Kanja Bihare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhavam, Jaya Konaja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhavam, Jaya Kunja Vihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yeah, you can take it. You can take it. We are reading 444. It's easy to remember. So fourth, Canto 4, chapter, text 4. It's okay, this one. Taman vagachan drutavikramam satim ekam trinetra nucharak sahasrashaha saparshadayaksha maniman madadayaha purovrishendras tarasagata vyataha tvam antvagachan drutavikramam satim ekam trinetra nucharak sahasrashaha saparshadayaksha maniman Madadayah Puro Vrishendras Tarasagata Vyatatah Tam Anvagachan Drutavikramam Satim Ekam Trinetra Nucharach Sahasrashaha Saparshadayaksha Maniman Madadayah Puro Vrishendras Tarasagata Vyatah. Now you can sing. It's easy verse 444. Ladies.
Vikramam satim ekam trinetranu chara sahasraha saparshadayaksha maniman madadaya puro vrishendras taras gatavyataha.
Tam, her, sati, anvagachan, followed, druta vikramam, living rapidly, satim, sati, ekam, alone, trinetra, of Lord Shiva, who has 3 eyes, anucharach, the followers, sahasrashaha, by thousands. Saparshada Yakshaha, accompanied by his personal associates and the Yakshas. Manimat Mada Adayaha. Maniman Mada, etc. Purach Vrishaindrach, having the Nandi bull in front. Tarasa, swiftly. Gatavyataha, without fear. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. When they saw Sati leaving alone very rapidly, thousands of Lord Shiva's disciples, headed by Maniman and Mada, quickly followed her with his bull Nandi in front and accompanied by the Yakshas. Purport. Sati was going very fast so that she might not be checked by her husband, but she was immediately followed by the many thousands of disciples of Lord Shiva, headed by the Yakshas, Maniman and Mada. The word Gatavyatah used in this connection means without fear. Sati didn't care that she was going alone, therefore she was almost fearless. The word Anucharaha is also significant, for it indicates that Lord Shiva's disciples were always ready to sacrifice anything for Lord Shiva. All of them could understand the desire of Shiva, who didn't want Sati to go alone. Anucharah means those who can immediately understand the purpose of their master. When they saw Sati leaving alone very rapidly, thousands of Lord Shiva's disciples, headed by Maniman and Mada, quickly followed her with his bull Nandi in front and accompanied by the Yakshas. So this is continuation of the story. In first part, Daksha felt offended because Shiva didn't give him proper respect. And then this is the introduction in the second part where the unpleasant events will follow. In this part, wife of Shiva, Sati, she wanted to went on her father's function ceremony without invitation, because it's natural that a daughter can go to father even without being invited. Shiva advised her that it's better not to go, but she anyway decided contrary. And to do this, she, in this verse, it's said that she went quickly because she didn't want to be stopped by Shiva. And Prabhupada concentrates in this purport on 2 points. First is that she was without fear. Prabhupada said she was almost fearless. So who can be in this world fearless? This is the world of fear. This is the world of disease. This is the world of death. And everybody is in fear. They fear that, we all fear that we will lose our life, that we will lose our opulences, that we will lose our respect from others. So this is the world of fear. It is said that opposite of this world is Vaikunta. Vaikunta, Vai means without, and Kunta means suffering, without suffering. And this is world of suffering. And where is suffering, it's natural that it is fear present. So in this world, fearless can be only a saintly person. Why? Because he is completely or she is completely confident that the Father, the Lord, will protect her or him. We can see that our Acharya got the name Abhay. Bhaya means fear. A means negotiation. So without fear. That was his name, Abhay. Abhay Charan, or Abhay Charan Aravinda, as he later got initiated name, because he took the shelter of Charanaravinda, he took shelter of Krishna. So those who take shelter of Krishna, they can be without fear. Once, at the end of the lecture, one disciple asked Prabhupada, because the verse was about the self-realized person. So the disciple asked Prabhupada, what's the mentality of a person who is self-realized, how it looks? And Prabhupada thought for a moment, and it's also interesting that Prabhupada thought for a moment, because we will immediately jump on some definition that some self-realized person always thinks of Krishna or has Krishna in his heart, something like that. But Prabhupada gave them example which which they can relate on. So he said, that means that he is without fear, Prabhupada said. That was his, at that moment, definition of a person who is self-realized. And all devotees were completely in ecstasy when they heard that definition, and they just felt in that moment that as Prabhupada's fearlessness coming through them, you know. And later one devotee wrote a book about Prabhupada, and the title of the book is Without Fear. And he was on that lecture, Rupa Vilas Prabhu. So without fear, it's not easy to be in the world of dangerous without fear. How you can be in the minefield without fear, you know. But this is the world of, this is big minefield, you know. This is even worse than minefield, because on the minefield you have the chance, you will go, you will survive. But in this world you do not have such chance. Everyone will die. And it's natural for the saintly person to be without fear, because he took shelter of person who is the supreme. So in this verse also explaining that Sati was without fear because she was convinced she had to protect her husband also, who was great devotee of Krishna. It is said that the Shiva Vaishnava Jata Shambhu, that Shambhu, Shiva, is the greatest Vaishnava, it is said in the Bhagavatam. And another point in which Prabhupada concentrates is that it's also interesting that she did something contrary what her husband didn't like. So even if we are on such elevated position as Shiva, we should tolerate such. It will occur that our wife or our husband will sometimes do something we do not like. And Shiva just tolerate, and that's the example for us all. And he didn't say nothing. He just tolerated her desire, which was contrary to his. But his followers, they understood his mind, and they didn't want to allow her to go alone. So they immediately followed her, because they knew the heart of their spiritual master, their master. he knows the heart of Shiva. So it is said that there are three classes of servants. Third class of the servant will do what spiritual master say, or the master in general say. This is the third class. Whatever master said, they will do. Actually, there is fourth class also. This is those disciples who will not do what master said. And it's not, sometimes happen also in spiritual life also. It's not ideal, but yes, sometimes happened. One time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, so there was one devotee. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is the teacher, spiritual master of our Srila Prabhupada. So one time, there was one devotee who was going regularly to Sankirtan and to Bhiksha. Bhiksha means to take alms, to take donations for the temple. So every now and then he took an amount of this money and put on his personal account. So another devotee who was working in the post or bank found that that brahmachari has his personal account with a lot accumulated money. And then he went to spiritual master, said, this brahmachari, he has a lot of money as his personal account and he is hiding it. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted to take several hundred of devotees on pilgrimage in Vrindavan, he needs some money for that also. So he approached that disciple and asked him, it happened that I heard that you have some money. So we need money for pilgrimage. Maybe this is the good opportunity to use money in Krishna's service. Because for brahmachari is not allowed to have personal account, you know. If you are brahmachari, you are a student, then you are living at the cost of the temple and you cannot collect aside every now and then like that. It can be in some cases if you have allowance of temple present, you have special purpose, for example, you are going to pilgrimage or something like that. But this brahmachari was collecting a huge amount of money without that other didn't know that. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati asked him, can you give money for the pilgrimage? And he refused. He was attached for the money. Then other devotees, brahmachari, heard what happened. Then another brahmachari approached him and said, you should give money for the pilgrimage. And he still refused. Then they said that all what happened to his best friend. So his best friend approached him and said, look, Maharaj asked you directly, you should give money. And finally that devotee gave money for the pilgrimage. When they were on the pilgrimage, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati glorified like anything that devotee who gave the money, you know, as if he wasn't forced, as if was voluntary actually, but somehow he was forced into it, you know. So, but generally, yes, there are three class of disciples, and third class is do whatever master said. When some devotees complain, or I think the Satsvarup Maharaj was the manager in that time, and Trivikram, yes, and Trivikram also. So they were not good manager from material point of view. But Prabhupada appreciated them and gave them that post and keep them on that post, because Prabhupada said, whatever I said, they do. That means ideal manager. So Prabhupada look on these incidents from spiritual point of view. So this is third class disciple. This third class disciple, I mean, sometimes can be annoying also when you are giving instruction to your subordinate. And if service lasts 1 minute and you have to explain 5 minutes, then naturally you think it's better I do alone. I know sometimes when I give some instruction to my kids, they purposely ask me question after question, you know. You should collect garbage and put out. Which garbage? You know, we have in 3 places in our home garbage. Yeah, I know two, but I don't know what the third one. Then I have to explain. Okay, third one is next to fridge. Which fridge? You know, we have also two fridge. Like that. Like they are purposely, want to discourage me to give them service. And this is the third class. And second class disciple, he will do what Maharaj, what Master suggests by gesture. So if you see sometimes people who are serving together for a long time, their team, it's enough some gesture and that the other part knows what to do in such occasion. And that's pleasant to serve like that because you are tuned in. And we have also example from Prabhupada. I think it was Hari Shauri, maybe Shrutakirti, I do not remember, one of two. So he explained that in due course of conversation, Prabhupada always meet with some important people. So it's annoying to stop conversation and said to the servant, you should do that, you should do this. So it's when the servant served nicely and for some time he couldn't understand what Prabhupada means by gesture. So one gesture was that in due course of conversation, Prabhupada looked a few moments in the window. And he said, that means window should be opposite what it is now. And sometimes was open. If Prabhupada looked into open window, that means it should be closed. And vice versa. If it is closed and Prabhupada wants fresh air, he would just fix for a few moments his sight into a window, and servant immediately understood, it should be opened. Like that. And there are a few very nice servants of Prabhupada who were trained very well, actually, to serve him. It's very nice to hear and to read about all these stories. And sometimes on mistakes also they learn it. They learn one time Prabhupada was asked by Indian family in London if their 12 years boy can cook for Prabhupada, because he had strong desire to cook lunch for Prabhupada. And then a servant thought, finally I am one day relieved of service. So then the boy cooked and nobody supervised him. So the chapatis were thick and, not hard, and not very tasty. And Prabhupada encouraged the boy, boy was standing, Prabhupada was taking prasadam, and Prabhupada said, first class, and boy went happily. And then Prabhupada turned to the servant and said, what have you done? You didn't supervise him. This is practically, you cannot eat this, So like that. They were trained as servant. And then the first class servant, he will know what master thinks. Master will not need to gesture, not need to say. So he will immediately understand what master thinks. It is said also, for example, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had one disciple who immediately can understand what his master is talking about. And sometimes the vocabulary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was very complicated and nobody could understand. Even Prabhupada said, sometimes I was sitting in front of my master on the lecture and I couldn't understand what he is talking about. So this servant Ananta Vasudeva was so expert when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati noticed that other cannot follow. He gave word to that Ananta Vasudeva, so then he explained them what is master talking about with some simpler vocabulary. Such was expert, it was written, Ananta Vasudeva. So this is first class servant who can understand mind of the master. Prabhupada in one purport said, the first class servant will not introduce anything. If I ask for glass of water and somebody brings me glass of milk, he's concocting. Concocted. He's introducing, he's imagining. You should do whatever I say. That's the first class servant. Still, Vedic culture is very subtle. And rarely, but it's also known for us that also this exists, that sometimes will master say one thing, but it's okay to do another thing. And this is the greatness of this knowledge. You can go deeply as much as you want, you know. And we have such examples. I will give you a few. But it's amazing that also that exists. First, I will say in ordinary life. So in some occasions, wife will say to husband, you do not need to go in shopping with me. But in her heart will be just opposite. She didn't want to oblige her husband to go in something he doesn't like. But she would like to. But she doesn't have heart to say. And if husband knows the heart of the wife, he will go anyway. Or for example, when my wife is serving prasadam and I took practically everything, including cake, so she will say, do you like another cake? And I will say no. And she will put it. Because she knows my heart. Okay, it's okay. This time is okay, you know. But this is something reserved just for the most intimate persons who know each other. It wouldn't be okay if somebody else do that. And that means that in spiritual life we have to know our position also. I remember in the village when one sannyasi came and one young devotee served prasadam, and it was kheer. Kheer is sweet rice. Everyone likes sweet. So Swami said, no, it's enough. And he put it again and laughed and said, Maharaj, it will be more maha. It was completely inappropriate. He was rejected from that service immediately. You cannot deal like you are friend with Maharaj, you know. Maybe I can do that with Ramananda, you know. We can joke like that because we are friends, you know. But it's not appropriate if Thakur Haridas do that with Ramananda. He will be, you know, rejected. So we have to know our position. If we try to imitate, and if somebody imitates Sundari and say, do you want like more rice? And I said, no. And he put it, I will curse him, you know, I do not like rice, you know, I'm taking rice out of obligation, out of courtesy, you know, it's prasadam and to honor the cook, you know, but I do not actually like rice. And so if somebody tries to imitate and put it me more rice, anyway, I will curse him, you know. So like that, we have to know our position. So yes, there are a few incidents in spiritual life also where disciples did differently what Master said, and it was okay. Just to remember. Yeah, that's also a nice story. When Jagadath Das Babaji left the body, out of his humility, he said, when I left the body, you should my body drag tied on some horse and pulled out of all Navadvip. And that he said out of his humility. And his disciple was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, which we talked about, And people said, yeah, we should drag him to the that was his last desire. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati didn't approve. He said, no, he said that out of his humility. You cannot do that. Another story is when Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita in 3rd chapter, he said that he said actually that the devotees do not unsettle, do not disturb non-believers. And Prabhupada said in purport, but devotees are still going to non-believers, to materialists, because they are more merciful than Krishna. That said Prabhupada in purport in 3rd chapter. That's completely something opposite of Krishna. Krishna said, do not go to them. And Prabhupada said, yeah, you should go there, to them, to materialists. And that verse also, that purport discover intimate position of Srila Prabhupada, which he had. He knew completely Mano Bhishta. Mano Bhishta means mind, hidden desire, because Krishna didn't have heart to say, you should go to those who do not appreciate me. Because it's hard, to approach materialists, and they will sometimes blaspheme Krishna. And Prabhupada said opposite. Another example is also, just to see. Another example also was, sometimes person, they try to catch in India to get a darshan of spiritual saint, of spiritual master. And sometimes can be annoying, because they do not approach to spiritual master out of desire to advance spiritually, but they just want to alleviate or to improve their material situations. So naturally, the spiritual master will try to avoid them. And once 3rd January 1976, when they were going from Madras to Nellore, Prabhupada with Harikesh, Tamal, and Harishauri. So Harishauri is later put that incident in his book. And they were going with Prabhupada from Madras to Nellore. And Harikesh went out of, this apartment, coupe, in the train. And when he came back, he swiftly closed the door. And they were looked with question in him. He said, outside are 3 Indians, they want darshan of Prabhupada. And he avoided them. And they didn't want to allow. And then they still trying to get darshan of Prabhupada. Yeah, Ashirwad. And then finally, when somebody went out, somebody has to pee. They catch the eye of Prabhupada, eyesight. And Prabhupada was obliged to, okay, come in. So Prabhupada said come in, but the servants didn't allow them to come. So that finally, 3 of them, they came. And they said, can we get Ashirwad? Ashirwad means in Hindi, blessings. Can we get blessings? And Prabhupada said, what is blessing for you? And he caught them on, He said, my knee is painful. Maybe you can relieve my knee. And also family. I want Ashirwads for family, blessings. And Prabhupada showed them 3 of his disciples and said, you say, I can give you Ashirwad like that you became like them, like devotees, to abandon material life and to go into spiritual path. Prabhupada, we have many obligations at our home. We are not still ready for that, but thank you. And then they went out. Yeah, like that incidents. It's rarely happened, but it's also happened, that sometimes even that happened. Once I also remember I was a bit annoyed because my spiritual master, also there are all kind of disciples, and sometimes some disciple want to get instruction, but they will not follow them. They just waste spiritual master's time. So one devotee went to Guru Maharaj and they had a darshan. Maharaj gave instruction, and when he went out, he said, I will not follow that. This is completely inappropriate, I will not follow that. And he was quite rebellious. He was mentally imbalanced person. I knew the details. I know that disciple. And then next day I heard that he again wants to go. And he doesn't stay 15 minutes. You cannot wend him out, you cannot rid of him. And I heard that he will again have a darshan. And I was frustrated, annoyed, even angry. And I went to Guru Maharaj and said, so many people want darshan and he wants to again to go. How have you allowed him to go again? And Maharaj said, look, my position is that I cannot refuse, but you are manager. And he didn't say anything after that, but it was understood. You are manager, you can manage. If you can manage opposite, it will be good. That also was one incident. So like that, life is complex. It's not always black and white. Even Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, in 9th chapter, Jantiman muda manushim stanu masritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. He said, only fools do not know my transcendental nature. So you can say, yes, whoever doesn't know Krishna's transcendental nature, he is fool. And Krishna said, only fool do not know. But you can see from other side, there are many residents, all residents of Vrindavan, they are not aware of Krishna's transcendental nature. They think that Krishna is an ordinary person. And Krishna likes that, So this is just a reminder that we have to understand where we are on this spiritual path. One of our first introductory books is Science about Self-Realization. Self-realization means that we have to know our position. And it differs. Someone can get into inner cycle or is in inner cycle of in Krishna's inner cycle, some is, and we are generally outer. We cannot do like that. Oh, more Mahaprasadam, it will be, it's completely inappropriate. That's our position. Our position that we are trying to be third class disciples. But that doesn't mean that others do not exist, and we shouldn't criticize them also, of course. So Krishna said, only fools are not aware of my transcendental nature, but Mother Yashoda is not aware of Krishna's transcendental nature. So we should understand also there are different levels. Different levels means that this society is structural, that there is hierarchy into, and everywhere there is hierarchy in spiritual or material life and organizations. One Srila Prabhupada also he was negotiating in some printing company about printing his books in Japan. Dai Nippon was the name of company. And at the end, some servant, all other big shots went out So Prabhupada approached that servant, low manager, and he said, "So what's your goal in life?" And this servant was holding the visit cards of different managers, and his was on the bottom. So he took his from the bottom and put it up. He wanted to be on the top of the hierarchy in this company. Yes, but there is hierarchy everywhere. And even in spiritual life there is hierarchy, and we have to know our position. And that's also where this dispute starts, because Daksha wanted to be on the top of hierarchy. He went to the assembly and two persons didn't get up. One was his father, but father showed him, okay, you can sit here. So he was appeased with that gesture, because father showed him. All others stood, but Shiva didn't stood. And Shiva was his son-in-law, and Daksha was enraged. So we can see Daksha, the youngest daughter of Daksha, she married Sati. That's the lady we are talking about in this verse. The youngest daughter married Shiva. And it's naturally understood that when somebody has father-in-law, that father-in-law is superior to that person. In our country, it is even custom that we call father-in-law just father, or mother-in-law we are calling just mother. Is it also in Germany like that? Not so. So we are I'm referring to my mother as mother, but also to my mother-in-law also as mother. And it's natural that she is superior. So according to this criteria, Daksha was superior. But from another point of view, Shiva was on higher level of consciousness. There are also one more criteria. We can say also that Shiva was brother of Daksha, older brother of Daksha. So Brahma, first being in this universe, he got instruction from Krishna in the heart that he should fill this universe with jivas. So he started to create jivas. Brahma, it says that his name is Shambhu, not Shambhu, Swayambhu. Swayambhu means that person who is not born, unborn. So he created another living beings. So who is the first son of the Brahma? Who knows? Srimad, you know. Yes, quadruples. 4 twins, how I will say. Yes, Kumaras first. And he said to Kumaras, please fill this universe with living entities. And they refused. And he became angry, father. Later he appointed them to be men for the Jnana Kanda part of, because in universe you have 2 different levels of living beings, means different level of consciousness, then you have to give different parts. So one of part is Jnana Kanda, and Kumaras were in charge for that part. So after that, who was the second or fifth? Shiva, yes. Shiva. So Shiva is the elder brother of Daksha. Shiva is practically the first one, son of Daksha.
And when Brahma became angry between his idols,
Yeah, Shiva, yeah. Then after that, he said to Shiva, please fill this universe with the living beings. and Shiva created them, but they were destructive. They wanted to destruct all universe. So Daksha said, you are not good for that, you do austerities. Then later, Daksha created 10 sons out, Brahma, yes, thank you. Out of them, the youngest were Narada and Daksha. Narada was in charge for Upasana Kanda or Bhakti, and Daksha was in charge for Karma Kanda. And Daksha actually did good service to his father, because he started to create living beings who were not destructive, who were normal. Daksha had 16 daughters. 13 daughters he gave to Dharmaraj, 1 to Agni, 1 he gave to Pitriloka, and the last one he gave to Shiva, which we are reading now. Yes, according to suggestion of Lord Brahma. Yes, so now what Daksha can say also, look Shiva, you got instruction from Guru, but you didn't do that instruction properly. I'm superior because I fulfilled that instruction. So in this material world we have also different criteria. According to one criteria, one will be superior. According to another criteria, another will be superior. So who is superior in this world? And that verse we are chanting all the time on the Mangalarati. Trinadasi Papi Sunichenya. We have to be humble. We have to see others as superiors, and that's in that state of mind we can chant and chant and chant, and that's a recipe for us. Otherwise it will be mess. So superior is one who is older. Superior is one who is longer in Krishna consciousness. Superior is for sure sannyasi for us also. Superior is someone who is Brahmana, and we are not. And superior is someone who is more elevated in consciousness, more advanced than us. And this definition is not here that we find who is subordinate to us. This definition is here that we find who is elevated than me, than ourselves. That's the definition. It is not that when some first of sannyasi disciples got sannyasi initiation, they understood, now they all have to respect me. So in one incident, one sannyasi saw on the field brahmachari, and it was rain, and it was mud everywhere. So he came next to him and said, you should give me obeisances now. Everywhere was mud, how you will give obeisance? Yeah, you should. I'm sannyasi. And then the devotee gave obeisances, but this sannyasi didn't last long, because this is not good mentality, What's the time? 5 to 9, huh? Yeah, there are many to say, but I think we can stop here. So this is our point is that we have to be humble, and according to one criteria, maybe we'll find, I'm superior, but this is not good mentality. We should seek opportunity to be humble. So thank you very much. Some questions? Rotten tomatoes. So.
We heard that Shiva was angry, if I understood correctly, with Daksha. With Daksha. But I was wondering, isn't this ego? Because when you say, oh, superior or this or that, to me it seems it comes from the ego. But I was wondering if there is another explanation maybe.
Up until this point, Shiva didn't become angry.
Maybe it was when he didn't want his wife to go.
Even that he tolerated. Shiva is completely transcendental. He wasn't angry with Daksha or his wife. He was he tolerated, he was transcendental. He wasn't on false ego, for sure.
But then why would he forbid his wife to go?
Because that was, according to situation, good advice. So if somebody wants to be teacher, that means he should give right instruction. But at the same time, you have to be a bit detached, because in some situations, subordinates will not listen to you. And it's frustrating if the teacher is very much attached that the subordinates follow his advice. He will be frustrated also, and he will be angry. But Shiva wasn't. Shiva gave out of compassion for his wife, out of her well-being. He gave good advice, but he was detached whether she will follow or not. And the same principle you have in Bhagavad Gita when Krishna said to Arjuna, you are now free to follow or not to follow my advice.
I just wanted to say one thing.
Yeah, I just want to say, please correct me. I just want to say that Shiva knows what will happen, and he tried to say his wife, please don't go, because you will embrace there. Nobody will give you proper
Respect.
Proper, kako se kaže poštovanje?
Respect.
Respect, because you are my wife. And please don't go, you will be more sad than now. But from her viewpoint, she feels sad because of her father. She knows that her father make big aparada to Shiva, to her husband. And she is thinking like, maybe I know my father, I try convince him, please, father, don't do this to Shiva, because his personality, supreme personality of Godhead, he's supreme, and please don't do. She felt like I must save my father, to try convince him to not continue this aparada mood, and also. She not from previous time that Daksha also make aparada through his own father, because Brahma suggests this marriage, and Daksha accept this only because of polite, like, oh, my father said I must
Obey.
do this. I must obey, but he don't like Shiva at all. And she knows this, and she was thinking, maybe I can convince my father. This is the main purpose, and Shiva also know this, and she tried to save her because of this embarrassment, yeah. But he doesn't told her, don't stop, because he also know what she has in her heart. And also, you know that Sati prefer suicide, actually. On the end, Sati, she feels so sad because nobody gave her respect, and they are completely offensive, and she commits suicide instead of her father. She told him, "You are my father, but I feel so sad because I get my body from you." And because of that, Shiva knows, and he tried to stop her, but not like completely.
Yeah, he didn't force her.
Yeah, he didn't force her.
Anyway, we can stop. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.